Hello and welcome to yet another video about Java. This time I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about debugging code and what can we actually do to find out the stuff that is going wrong with our code. My name is Bożej, I already have 5 years in experience. Well, I have started off as a self-learner without any relevant college degree or any sort of bootcamp. I am a software engineer and then I have become a product manager and I lead 2 programming teams as of now. So let's dive into the topic at hand. The method that we're trying to test out here is invert file method that is taking in 2 files, one file, creating another one, and then reading the input and putting the output into the file, but inverted. Let's try it out with our John had a cat string. Let's run the code and let's see what's happening here. The inverted text file is being created, but we see that nothing is there. So in order to try to check what is happening, let's try to run it via a debugger. So in order to run a debugger, first we need to point out where it should stop. So for me, it's going to be the 3rd line of the main method. And to run this code in debug mode, next to the play sign, we have this debug sign that we can then click. And what we got here is our code has stopped in this particular place. And we have some operations. First of them is rerun main. We've got stop main, continue the code, pause program, step over, meaning go to the next line, step into, meaning go into the method that we are currently looking at, step out, view breakpoints that are there in the code, and then mute breakpoints. And those are the basic controls that we're going to be using now. So in order to look into the invert file method, what we need to do is click this step into button, and now we are within the method. So let's take a look. First of all, we've got this file path, so okay, that's nice, and it's text.txt, which we know that is already existing. So let's step over, let's execute this line, and let's execute the next one. This is just object creation, so I'm assuming that everything is going properly here. Here we've got a list of strings that is actually going to be containing the strings that are in the text file that we want to then invert. So let's see. And then we've got a line that is being assigned reader.readLine. So we can see that in the beginning, our line actually has a proper value, right? It's John had a cat, which is the first line that we have over here. So everything is working nicely. Then we've got a while loop that is hanging on the condition that if line equal reader.readLine is different from null, it will continue. So let's try and go step over it, and we can see the entirety of the line was skipped. And why is that? Very important thing, line equals reader.readLine is different from null means that this code will actually run every time the loop is run. So the mistake is over here because we've got a readLine in a place that it really shouldn't be. So in order to combat that, we can just go ahead with reader.readLine, because in the beginning, when this loop runs for the first time, then the line equals reader.readLine will actually have the value of the first line from the file. So we have changed this, but Java is not dynamic and we are currently over the while loop. So it means that we need to run it from the start. So let's press rerun main. We're once again back into this place with invert file. Let's then go ahead and go to this particular line. So let's resume program, and it's going to stop on the next breakpoint. So now our list is of size 0 and our line is currently non-existing. So let's go over it. And now our line is John had a cat, which is actually the truth. Okay, let's move one step forward. Our line has run once again, and line equals to null, and of course the loop has stopped working. Now we've got our for loop that is going through int I equals list size -1, I bigger than or equals than 0, and then I minus minus. So it means that we are going from the back of our list, and our list actually contains of a single argument called John had a cat. So let's now see whether it's inverted, right? Because what we are expecting to see is not John had a cat, but rather cat A had John. So the inversion of it. So let's see whether it had worked. We've got writer right, list.get of I, and we've got return true. Okay, let's run the code and let's check inverted text. And the text is actually equal to inverted text. So it seems that we have missed something, right? So we know that the list has contained only John had a cat, and this is actually very closely correlated to how the reader.readline works. So our code works in this way. It's actually going through the file and goes to the next line sign that's at the end here, and it collects everything that is there. John had a cat, right? It just collects the entirety of a string as a single string. But what we wanted to happen is we wanted to have John, had, a, and cat as separate strings. So what we need to do is actually we need to go ahead and separate those. And in order to do that, we can use a very nice method called split. And in order to do that, we need to first, of course, we need to read the line that we have in our file. Then we've got to create an array of strings, line words, let's call it. And our line words is going to be equal line dot split, and let's say we're going to split on spaces. It is going to result in a list of strings that actually contains all the words within the original string separated by spaces. So it's going to be a list of 4 strings. So actually what we actually want to have. But now what we need to do is not add an entirety of the line, but all the separate words that we have. So in order to do that, we're going to exchange this list.addLine into a for loop for string word in our line words, list dot add word. So it means add up every single word. Oh, and here we've got even a suggestion from IntelliJ to simplify this particular line. So it's collections add all list line words. So it means that add all the elements that are there in line words into our list. So let's go ahead and try to debug the code once again. Let's step into the method, resume it. Okay, let's check what is happening, and let's check what is happening in the end of our for loop, rather while loop. Okay, we've got our first run of the loop, and now our list actually contains 4 words. So it means that we'll actually get our words in the inverted file actually inverted. So let's run the code. Okay, it goes through all the for loop continuation, and then at the end, let's check for the end result, and cat A had done. So it means that our file actually got inverted in a way that we wanted it to happen, but still what we need to do is we need to write also a space between each and every line so that it looks nicer. And then within inverted text, we've got cat A had John. So yeah, everything is working very nicely. We can of course get rid of the last space by using an if it's the last I in the loop, then we can of course then remove the last space sign. But still, I would say that this is very, very nice way to actually check out the code. So in order to summarize everything that we have learned here, first of all, in order to run the debugger, you need to first assign the line that you want the debugger to stop. In our case, it is going to be the first line into the main. Then you run the debug option, and there in the toolbar we have options rerun main, stop main, resume program until you run into the next debugger point. Step over, execute the line. Step into, get into the details of the line that we are looking at. That is marked in this dark blue in my case. Step out, meaning go level up. After stepping into, view all the breakpoints, mute the breakpoints. Step into results in going into the method, resume goes back to the next breakpoint or to the end of the code. So yeah, That's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be posting more examples of how to debug code and how to resolve some problems, but that would be pretty much it for today's video. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.